We're recording.
Wow. How you doing, Emma?
Wow, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
I have a little fun fact for you.
Talk to me.
So Starbucks just released their fall drinks.
So are you getting your pumpkin spice latte?
Our first PSL of the season's happening tomorrow, and fall
Nice.
season just kicked off. So just for the season, not wearing
Okay.
blue like you, but
Okay. Well, I wear blue because that's my color
that is your
and
color.
it's my eyes, brings out the blue in my eyes.
I think it's funny because you asked me to help you pick out outfits, and then it's like, oh, do you like this shirt or this shirt? And it's the
And
same
they're
exact
both blue.
color, but it's like, oh, one has buttons right here and
But
one.
hey, you should be proud of me. Last week I was wearing a reddish pink shirt, right? Which is not my norm. Um, But I will tell you, I'll make a suggestion for your next Starbucks trip if you're not going for the pumpkin spice.
Let's hear it.
Uh, Flat white is always a good choice, nice and smooth. And then if you're going for a cold drink, they have this thing called a nitro cold brew. Pretty
They
good.
just came out with a pumpkin matcha
Nitro.
brew.
There you
And
go.
if you've ever tried the honey almond milk flat white, that is so good. It's like,
Really
yeah, it is. It's incredible. Almond milk is my jam.
nice.
All right, so I think today we wanted to jump into how we handle bad management. But
But
first,
before we do,
before we do, welcome back to the dilemma with Emma and Brian.
and Brian Burns.
I got your name started for you. Um, yeah, welcome back, guys. We're like I said, gonna just jump into it. So I'm gonna kick it off
Bad
with
management, huh?
yeah. What is an
All right.
example of bad management in your past? And do you think you'd still consider it bad management or lacking experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my definition of a bad manager would be somebody that, takes credit when things go well and places blame when things don't go well. But I think looking back, the way you pose that question, I misjudged some managers that I had. I had the wrong impression of them at first because I didn't know them. I didn't know if I could trust them, and I was, newer in my career path. And so I think there are managers, I know there are managers that I thought, man, this isn't going to be somebody that, I'm going to enjoy working for. But once I got to know them and realized they were somebody that I could trust and they did help move obstacles and they did want me to succeed and were collaborative, then I found, oh gosh, this is actually a really good manager. And I think he's probably going to kick me for saying this, but my manager at Verizon Wireless, who I'm still good friends with today, uh, at first, man, we kind of clashed. It was like we were butting heads at first, and then over time, we realized that okay, I learned to respect him because he knew a lot about the industry and he had some really good qualities. And I had a manager and by the way, I had a lot of success working for him. He would push me and made me, challenge me, which is really what I needed and helped me to be successful. And then I had a manager at Ingram Micro that at first I didn't work for this person very long, but she turned out to be great and um, somebody that I really grew to respect a lot.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on that. One being, I just remember you, like, even when I was little, coming home from work and just being super frustrated when you didn't get along with management because you are trying to do a job and it's hard when you're not seeing eye to eye with someone you're trying to perform for. And
Yeah.
it's like you're kind of fearing your job in a way because it's like if you're not, you
Well, it's
see,
your livelihood, right? And this person
exactly.
could stand in the way of your livelihood and providing for your family. And so it's like it's just a tough time sometimes.
But I
Um,
will say I also know each and every one of their names, which we're not going to mention, but like of these managers because you have such great relationship with them now. And it's like a testimony to just the growth within you and them over the
Mhm.
years, where it's like maybe at the moment working for them, you were able to see eye to eye, but now being like in different positions or even with different companies, you're like, okay, I now understand because I'm either in the position you were in once, or I have so much respect because I've not received the type of management I had there with new company slash position I'm in. And it makes
Yeah.
you value those different characteristics, traits, like all of that within the past um, people and their assets.
Yeah. I think it all really could be boiled down to trust. When you get to a place where you trust your manager, then you're in a good place. Because once you have that, once you've established that, then everything else kind of falls into place.
It lays the foundation for just a healthy work atmosphere and uh,
Yeah.
thriving off of each other. Because it's not about like who's the um, I don't know, who's manager and who's the worker or whatever. It's just about
Right.
that you guys are
Yeah.
there.
How do we both win? How do we succeed? Working together. I think one of the things that I've learned to do over time is, I wouldn't say it's working around them, but working with them and leveraging my manager's strengths, whatever, whoever they are, because I've learned that, they're there for a reason. Like whoever put them in that position knew of some qualities of them, that they had that got them there, right? So they have to have, there's got to be something there. So what I typically try to do is find what are the strengths of that manager and then leverage those. And I think I've shared this with you, and a manager that I worked for at at ADP for a lot of years, for most of my tenure there. He was really good at um, getting answers for me, or getting something resolved for me, or knocking down doors for me, or walls, because he was really well connected within the company and had a really good reputation as well.
And I think he knew that if you succeeded, then he was doing his job right.
Yes. Well, if I succeed, he succeeds, right? And so he had a good way of taking things off my plate, which, as in sales, you can't ask for more than that, right?
Mhm.
Because you want to focus on getting new opportunities and
Yeah.
closing deals. And if he's able to take stuff off my plate and run with it, then that's huge. And then he also, I learned, did really well with the HR ladies. For whatever reason, they just really enjoyed having him in meetings, and he just had a personality that they connected with. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that when I'm meeting with these certain personality types, I'm bringing him, because I knew he would connect with them, and people like to buy from people they like and they trust. And they knew, and I knew he was somebody that they would trust and typically really liked. And so I would strategically leverage that when I could.
I remember when I was like applying for internships, or I don't know, just trying to feel out what job I saw myself best fitting in, when I knew at least the industry I wanted to go in. And I spoke to someone from UKG. She was in sales, and she is like a rock star in sales. She has done such a great job in her position and throughout her career, really. So I just wanted to get a feel for how it was being a woman in sales industry with different personalities. And she said, Emma, you really need to learn how to read the room and who's going to be on your side. And
Mm,
that's the most important thing, because when you walk in that room, you need to know who you're selling to, because it's not going to be everyone. Not everyone's going to be voting for you. So kind of like you said,
yeah.
he did really well with HR. You need to know who's going to, you know.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think it's important to know if your manager's in your corner, right? And it's tough to know, especially in the beginning, because you're just developing a relationship with them and a rapport. And it can take some time. But I think one of the things that I've learned is how you can identify is, how do they talk about you? How do they talk about you to your peers, and how do they talk to you about people above them? And if you hear something positive that they said when you weren't around, then
Mhm.
man, that person is in your corner, right? And they're on your side. And good managers do that. Or they'll send out an email, and position you in a positive way with people that are your peers or that are above them, and that always can demonstrate kind of whether or not they're in your corner. And then the opposite would be true.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so one example of a way you worked around bad management.
So I think we've already covered this, Emma. um, I think I'm way ahead of you. We talked about, or I talked about, kind of, instead of bad management, I look for strengths in the managers that I have, and try to leverage those strengths and minimize the negative, like
Yeah,
the old schoolhouse rock, right? You gotta accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative.
that's true. I think another way um to work around is when my best friend came out, Riley, this past weekend, she kind of said how in her industry, doctors talk to nurses in a very demeaning way. It's like, I'm the nurse, I'm in charge, or I'm the doctor, I'm in charge.
Right.
You work under me, so shut your mouth, pretty much. And so she said one time she was in a patient's room and she accidentally called the doctor by her first name. And with some doctors it's okay, with other doctors it's not. And the doctor went off on her in the patient's room and said, "You're not about to effing call me by my first name."
Wow.
And started kind of cussing her out in front of a patient who she had to be in charge of for 8 hours. Now, do you think that that patient will respect her after that, after the doctor just went off on her? No.
I don't know. I mean, I think they'd lose respect for the doctor as well, but
Yeah, but still, it's like she was kind of putting Riley in her place.
mhm.
And Riley said, "I knew I didn't deserve to be treated like that in front of a nurse. So I said, listen, I need you to stop right there. It was a simple mistake. It won't happen again, but I don't need to be talked to like that." And the
Mm.
doctor said, "You're right." And totally understood and left the room. And Riley's like, "Listen, like if she would have pulled me aside afterwards and said that to me, I would have been like, you're right. Like you earned your place as a doctor and you deserve to be
Sure.
called that." But she did it right in front of a patient. And I thought that was just like a really powerful story because it's also just about believing in yourself and knowing who you are. And if no one else,
Knowing your value, right?
and your worth, and if no one else in that room does, you know yourself. And
Yeah.
so don't let that happen to you. Like with bad management, sometimes you just have to
Right.
stand up to them because they're used to walking on people.
And you can own your mistakes and say, hey,
Yeah,
I was wrong. I'm sorry.
exactly.
But yeah, some people let titles get to their head, right? And I've been there. It's funny because I actually, I think I might have shared this with you. I was in a management, I got promoted into a management role at Ingram Micro as well. And I I remember that the person that I was promoted over that also applied for the position had more experience in that industry than me, and they knew the clients better than me, and they were really qualified. And looking back, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I wasn't that guy, like that manager, because I was young. It was my first, well, it wasn't my first management role, but it was in the corporate environment like that. And certainly at that company. And so I actually text her. I mean, it's been over 15 years, probably closer to 20 years ago that this happened. And she's like, no, Brian, that wasn't you. You were great. And we had, and she's like, I'd love to catch up and do coffee sometime. So um I think she was being a little bit generous and nice about it, because I think I might have been a little bit um harsh or whatever in the beginning, but we did develop a really good working relationship and ended up becoming good friends, and we've stayed in touch over the years and stuff. Um, but it does make you think, like when you're young and zealous and trying to
Make a
pave
point.
pave your way, you think you got to do these things, and it isn't necessarily true.
Yeah, you actually sent me like a really cool quote, and I just want to read it really fast because I think it resonates well with what we're talking about. But it says, people be so jealous of you because your character carries more weight than their title. Read that again. People be so jealous of you because your character carries more weight than their title. So
Yeah,
that's
I I think character is more important than
a
than
new title.
accomplishments or titles. Yeah,
I agree.
because it's what you do when no one's looking, right?
And it's how people remember you.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about a good bulk of what we were gonna do, but what do you think is more important when it comes to a position, a job? Is it more important to have a good manager, or is it more important to have the right product or company that you work for?
This one's tough because I think it can go both ways, and it's sometimes hard to find the medium, but I think you can in some instances. I would say that you need to believe in the product you're selling because I think we've talked about this in the past, but at one point I was thinking I wanted to go into selling like medicines. So, like
Yeah.
medical sales. And I think it would still be a good industry, maybe medical device,
Medical or pharmaceutical or both?
sorry,
Or
pharmaceutical sales. Um,
okay.
I would still consider going into like medical device sales, possibly. But it was interesting because when we got in the conversation, you had said, I looked into that. However, if I don't believe in the product and I'm forced to sell it, I would be going against my own morals and values. And that's very hard for me. And I kind of, it resonated with me because when I was applying for like sales internships or looking for an industry I wanted to get started in, that's what I thought of is like, is this something long term where it's a company that has great values that I believe in, and also a product that I feel comfortable selling to people. Because if I don't, I'm not going to be very good at my job. So I think
Right.
there's that part of it. But the other part of it is like, I've been in positions, I was a property manager in my last job, and that's not necessarily the job I wanted, but it was one of
It's not considered glamorous, probably, right?
it was at a storage facility. It wasn't
Right.
glamorous at all, but it was one of the best jobs because I had a mentor for 2 years of my life that is still one of my like, I would say like best friends to mentors because he's like 80 years old and he poured so much knowledge into me that I will forever cherish that job for more than just the title I had, which was a property manager. Um,
Yeah.
it taught me so much about life, about how to manage people, how to work with different people. I worked with architects, designers, contractors, all industries I was not familiar with before. So, yes, you have to believe in the product, but
Well, he also helped you think about your future and retirement, got you thinking about retirement plans and how to plan for your future and all. I know, yeah,
he poured a lot into me. And
he really
I
did.
think he did not expect a thing because I couldn't offer him anything other than my work skills, which was to, help his property do well. And I feel like I did that to the best of my ability, but he did so much more for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to try and find both. And as hard as that can be, it's
Right.
really important to have a product you believe in, but also good management. Um, I would say management over the product though. That is what.
Yeah, you got me thinking about when I was when I was early in my career, I was interviewing for a couple different jobs, and one of them was at Ingram Micro. It was when I was transitioning out of working in the country club industry,
Mhm.
and I was given an offer for much more money working for a company that managed 7-Elevens, right? So I had to be responsible for going around to these different 7-Elevens and helping them increase sales. And so I did some ride-alongs and got an understanding of where their primary revenue came from. And the primary revenue came from liquor sales and magazines. And these were not necessarily
Yeah, the
good
next.
magazines, right? They're probably what you would call inappropriate, for the most part, the ones that they were making the money on. So I had that option, and I had an option to work at Ingram Micro where it was, technology sales, and it wasn't as good a pay at the time. So, the other one offered a company car and all this stuff. But I just felt better about working for a company that sold technology versus knowing that the primary revenue that I was pushing was not, things that I felt really good about. So I took the lower paying job where I felt better, and I ended up, promoting several times pretty quickly and making more money than I would have made at the other job, in a short amount of time. So I think there is something to that for sure. You want to work somewhere that you feel good about it. But the flip side of that is I had a really good manager slash mentor at Ingram Micro who once told me, he said, because you're always hearing about, oh, we're going to eventually have this functionality, or we're going to have this product available and this and that, and you want to sell that really bad, but you can't because it's not available yet. So there's no point in, trying to sell that. He said, you got to sell the bananas in your basket. Because if you don't, those bananas go bad, right? And you've got rotten bananas, and the new product, you don't know when it's coming. So you may not have anything to sell if you're not careful. So, the flip side of that is you have to embrace what you do have and learn how to sell it to the best of your ability. Find, the best things about it, and make sure that you're positioning it with people that need it, right? So,
Yeah.
and I've learned that you build more credibility by telling people like, this isn't a good product for you if it's truly not, right? They'd
Yeah.
rather hear you say that, and they may end up buying from you anyway because it may not be the perfect fit, but they may not have a better option, or it may be the
That's
best
true
thing
as well.
for them, right? Or they may like working with your company enough that the product is less relevant, whatever. But at least you've earned their trust, and they'll want to buy from you in the future. But when it all boils down to it, I would answer the same way as you, is that what matters most is working for the right person. People don't, there's an old saying, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers, right? So you want to work for somebody that you can, that that you can trust, and that you can go into the battlefield with and feel good that he's going to be there, leading you in the right direction, and also standing beside you when things are tough. So I think that's critical as well.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point too. It's like you might not have the best of both worlds. In a lot of cases, you don't have the best of both worlds. You don't have a great product and a great manager. And that's when you got to rely on yourself. You got to
Yeah.
just sell to the best of your ability. And like you said, like sell the bananas in your basket, or
Yeah.
you have to handle the cards you're dealt in the way that best fits you, your values, who you are as a person. And yeah, lead
And
by.
it may not be the best product on the market. It might be the best product for particular customers though, and you got to find them. Or it might be the right price for certain customers, and you got to find them. And so that's what you look for, is like, who can I sell this to? Who does need this really bad?
Yeah.
You may wish you had something
Out
else,
there.
but why? It's what you've got. Sell it.
At our company, we Yeah, there's other companies where we're like, oh, they're not as good as us, this and that. But that company's saying the same thing about us because it's
Right.
markets,
And people are still buying from them, right? Even though you have a better product. So yeah, I think it's critical that you have somebody that you at least have a product that you feel good about selling. That you don't feel bad about selling, maybe is a better way of saying it, and then a manager that you really enjoy working with. I think those are important.
Yep. Well, I wanted to wrap it up with a question.
Okay, hit me.
What is one quality or trait you think I can improve on?
Oh, wow. A quality or trait that you can improve on.
Mhm.
So I don't know if this is exactly what you're looking for, but I do know that you always want to do a good job. You always want to be um, performing at a level that makes your manager happy or makes your, coworkers happy and that type of thing. So when when you're not feeling that way, sometimes you wear that on your sleeve.
Yeah.
So um, maybe the quality would be to just kind of let some of that stuff go and just focus on what you're doing and just do it the best you can, and that's all you can do. Just like when you played sports, right? What was my question to you?
Did you do
When
your
you're
best?
when you're
Did you
when
leave
you
it
were
all out?
frustrated, yeah, when you were frustrated and didn't think you had a good game, I said, did you play your best, right? And you would always say yes. And I would tell you that that's good enough then, isn't it?
Yep.
So that's all you can do.
That's
Just do your
right.
best and don't worry about the rest.
Do your best.
I
Don't
think
worry about the rest.
do your best and let God do the rest, right? Sometimes I think you let it get to you and then it takes your focus away.
Yeah, definitely. Like I get so concentrated on how I can do better versus just doing my best like I had been doing because if you're
Yeah,
doing your best, there's no way you can do better than your best,
you
right?
can't go wrong, right? You can
No,
never
you
go
can't.
wrong if you're doing your
Then
best.
believe in yourself and that's it.
Yeah, and then you can always improve and keep tweaking and getting better as you go. But
Yeah,
just like we did in soccer, right? What can you learn from what happened and how do you improve on it?
exactly. So do you have an ending question for me? Where's my tough question?
Well, maybe I'll ask you the same question.
Okay.
What could I improve on?
Hmm. What could you improve on? I would say you're good at everything. This is hard.
Oh, stop. Oh, geez.
Your head like starts to grow.
Yeah, careful. This headset won't fit anymore if you. Good thing it's stretchy.
I
My head
think
swells.
I think in the past, I noticed it more than now, so maybe improve on it now. But you used to be very dedicated. Not that you aren't anymore. That's not what I'm saying. You're a very dedicated person to the job, and I think in the past, not in the past, but maybe in the past few months, being in a different position, you had kind of lost that drive to be the best version or worker you knew how to be because you weren't given the support. So although you had a great product, you had no one backing you up, and it was kind of a lose-lose.
I will say something about my personality, and people that know me really well know this about me, is that I do so much better with praise than I do with um, the negative
Like
of
father
that.
daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is true. Like if I'm not getting that, then at least some encouragement, then it does drag me down a little bit.
And we've talked about how in all your in the previous to the last job, you had gotten President's Club at every single job, and you were just very dedicated and all about your work. And you still, I'm kind of seeing that come back, and it's really exciting for me to just see how happy you are and like excited you are. But I'm excited to see that at this job and see like the
Yeah.
returns. I know it's like I'm glad you're finally happy. And that's what
Yeah, and I will say I do feel that. I feel that support. I feel that,
I'm energized, like you're ready to go to work.
energy. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you, Emma. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
think there's a
really,
healthy balance.
yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed talking about this. I think it's a topic that can be hard to talk about.
Mm,
But it's also kind of good to look back and say, you know what, I experienced the bad and now I know what the good and the bad looks like.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So yeah, I thank you for chatting it up with me tonight.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. Good chat once again. Looking forward to the next one. What are we talking about next? Can we
Let's
plug
take
it?
a look. Yeah. So next episode, this has been episode 3. Episode 4
Yeah.
is going to be how to not look desperate when looking for a job, which can be
Oh,
hard when you're on the
when
prowl.
you are desperate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
Get
like
ready
that.
for episode 4 and enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you guys next week. All right.
I'm
Bye.